Now, I've done several bread pudding videos on my channel. It's one of those easy desserts that you can make in the oven, out on the grill, just about anywhere where you can put some heat to the ingredients. I've also done a crème brûlée video, and I love crème brûlée. It's one of my favorite desserts. And so today, I want to kind of combine those two. We're gonna make a bread pudding brûlée. And every bread pudding starts with bread. I've got some leftover bread here. I even have more over to the side if we end up needing more. These are some brioche buns I need to use. I've got pieces of bread here, and all I'm gonna do is start tearing these up. Really simple. Break them down into pieces like this. It's one of the fun things about bread pudding is that everything just gets sort of mashed together once we add the custard. So all these pieces, they don't have to be uniform. They're gonna get squished. And I'm doing this on a tray just because, well, it's a lot less messy. Crumbs not going everywhere. You can see different types of bread work. It doesn't matter. I've used sourdough. I've used hamburger buns, hot dog buns. It's especially a great use for that stale bread that you just want to use before it goes bad. And though I am going to be doing this in the oven inside today, this can transfer directly to the grill. And your grill doesn't even need to be as hot as the temperature I'm setting for the oven today. It just needs to be hot enough to cook the bread pudding, to cook the custard that's in there. So really on the grill, it might take a little longer than in the oven. All right, there is our bread. Let's make our custard. Our custard is super simple to make. We're starting with 1 cup of half and half. You could use whole milk, but I just prefer using half and half. We're gonna add 2 whole eggs, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm using a light brown sugar. 1/4 cup of granulated white sugar, just table sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're gonna whisk this together, get it combined nicely. Get those sugars dissolved in here. Now it's time to get messy by getting the bread in here. We're probably gonna use our hands to mix it up. Wanna really get this custard absorbed. If we need to add more bread, if it's too wet, we will. If it's too dry, we can add a little more, just plain half and half or whole milk. And really just get down in there and work this. And a lot of making bread pudding is sort of that feel of the texture. Is it saturated but not soupy? That's what you want. You want to make sure all the bread pieces have a chance to absorb that custard. All right, I'm gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes to let all that moisture absorb, and then we'll see if we need to add more bread. I don't think we'll need to add any more liquid because it's feeling nice and saturated, so we'll check to see if it's too saturated where we need to add some more bread. So this has been sitting for 5 minutes. Let's just sort of feel. You know, it's a little bit moist. I think maybe 1 or 2 slices of bread added to this will kind of make it just right. I'm gonna break 1 more piece of bread in here. Just mix this all in. And I think that second slice will go in here too. All right, we're gonna let this sit for another 5 minutes, then we will start building our bread pudding brûlée. So our final mixture has been sort of hydrating and all those flavors coming together for about 5 minutes. And now I've got one of my ramekins out here. This is a good size one, you can see that. But really any size ramekin will work for this. You just are gonna cook the bread pudding until it is done. Now, the oven is preheating to 350 degrees. These are probably gonna take somewhere between, I don't know, 20 and 30 minutes. We'll check it at 20 minutes and see how it's doing. First though, I wanna take some unsalted butter and just grease the inside of this. Not all the way to the top, just the bottom and maybe 1 inch up the sides. Then I'm gonna start getting our bread pudding mixture in here, and we are gonna press it down. I want it until it is just about to this rim right here, this lower rim. Just like that. Let's do another one. Grease the inside with some butter. There we go. I'm gonna fill the rest up and then we will get these into the oven. All right, here are our filled ramekins. That amount filled these 4 perfectly. It's Let's go ahead and get these in our 350-degree oven. In 20 minutes, I'll check them. If it needs a little more time, I'll give it more time. And when they are ready, we'll get them out here so they can start cooling down. All right, here is our bread pudding. Now, the way I checked to see if it was done at the 20-minute mark was I just used a toothpick. It's kind of like checking a cake. You just slide it in there. If it comes out generally clean, you're good to go. Even if there's a tiny little bit of that bread and batter on here, it's fine. Bread pudding is a little bit more of a moist consistency dessert, so you don't want it uncooked, but you don't want it overcooked and too dry. Now, after 20 minutes, it did decide it needed some more time, so I added 10 minutes, so this took a total of 30 minutes in these ramekins. And if you were having this as bread pudding, you could just let these cool for about 10 minutes so that the outsides aren't burning hot. Put some ice cream on top, some whipped cream, and serve it. But because we're turning this into bread pudding brûlée, we're gonna be putting a layer of granulated sugar on top, torching it to get that nice sugary shell. If we put that sugar on here right now with the moisture that's still in this, it would just absorb. So we want to cool this down completely, just like you would if you were making crème brûlée. You bake the custard, then you chill it. And then when you're ready, put the sugar on top and torch it. So I'm going to transfer these to a wire rack. I'm going to let these cool out here, just sitting out at room temperature for probably half an hour, and then they're going to go in the refrigerator for a couple hours to really chill down. So I'll see you back here in a couple hours when these are fully chilled and we can get that sugar on them, torch them, and turn them into bread pudding brûlée. So our bread puddings in the ramekins have chilled down, and I have one out here right now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sprinkle a nice thin layer of some white sugar, some granulated sugar on top here, and then I'm gonna torch it. Now when I torch it, I'm gonna move it over onto the stove under the hood, because if there's any smoke whiffs, I like to catch it there with the vent hood. If you don't have a culinary torch, you could do this under the broiler, but you really gotta watch it. It's only gonna take a little bit and it can burn pretty quickly. Even with the torch, you gotta watch it. Nice little layer here on top. Want it to be thick enough to give coverage everywhere, but not too thick. All right, let's head over and torch this up. We have the top of our bread pudding brûlée done. Let's listen. That's ready to break through and have a taste. First, I want to put, a few sliced raspberries on top just for a little bit of color and flavor. You could also throw some whipped cream on top of this, anything you want. It's completely up to you, but let's dive in. Oh, that crunch. And in this bread pudding, remember, you can add anything you want. You could make it an apple bread pudding. I've done that before. You could make a peach bread pudding. This is just the basic bread pudding with the brûlée top on here, and it's gonna be good. Let's have a taste. That was really good. Bread pudding is often seen as just sort of a cheap dessert. Well, you know what? It's inexpensive, really easy to make, doesn't take a lot of ingredients, a lot of special equipment, but adding that sort of topping from a crème brûlée on there, that sugar, perfect way to elevate this dish.